Welcome to the 2025 Dialogue, a masterclass series by the HR Association of India. I am Neha Jagnani, and today's session taps into a topic that affects every professional, no matter their industry or title. Today's topic is personal finance in the age of noise. To help us navigate this, we are joined by someone who brings both depth and clarity to the world of wealth management. Welcoming Abhay Maheshwari, founder and CEO of ASM Wealth. Abhay is a chartered accountant and an MBA from Indiana University in the US. With over a decade of experience across the IT and financial services sector, including international exposure in private equity in Singapore. A passionate investor since his teenage years, he has seen and witnessed two full market cycles and is now managing over 150 crore in investments through mutual funds and direct equities. Abhay's mission is simple yet powerful to empower people with the knowledge and tools to control of their personal finances, free from false promises and financial noise. Abhay, thank you so much for joining. It's a pleasure having you.
Thank you, Neha. Pleasure being here again. Happy to really contribute to this wonderful community in any way I can.
Thank you so much. Pleasure is ours, Abhay. I look forward to this exciting masterclass. So, to begin with, my first question, Abhay, is how do you define noise, in the world of personal finance today? And why is it more challenging than ever for people to make sound financial decisions?
Right. So, Neha, when we are, saying define noise, we are looking for a set of rules to tell us what is relevant and what is probably irrelevant, right? But in fact, this comes from some amount of knowledge and more so even wisdom, right? Which in turn will come from spending a certain amount of time in the industry, reading and listening enough to the experts, and even interacting with people, who have been there, who are experienced, who are smarter, and who converse, beyond things which are in the daily news and current affairs, people who are voracious readers and who have probably seen the ups and downs of the markets, because once we have these things intact, right, with our experience, interactions, reading, learning, all that kind of stuff, we will be able to connect the dots much better and be able to read between the lines much better.
Right.
Now, for example, at a personal level, though, when we own any stock or mutual fund, we have to first, know our own expectations, whether we hold it for the purpose of trading or are we long-term investors. Then any piece of, say, news or information which comes on that stock or mutual fund, we have to evaluate it from that lens. If we see it as a temporary change, that is noise to an investor. A structural shift is really what is relevant. But for a trader, even the temporary, impact would be in fact quite relevant. So noise is, actually quite subjective in certain ways.
Right.
But what I think is holding us back from making really sound financial decisions is that there's an information and sensory overload, right? There are too many sources of information today. We are on multiple WhatsApp groups, each of them having tens, hundreds of messages on a daily basis. There are news outlets, there are tips and rumors from our friends, relatives, people, acquaintances around us. And unfortunately, our education system is geared towards giving us information and again, giving us some amount of knowledge, but is not geared towards making us wise. And that is where our struggle comes in filtering and really making sound decisions, right? Not just in finance, but in, many spheres of life.
Sure, absolutely. Very beautifully put. So, firstly, it's about knowing your expectation. And as you said,
So,
noise could be, subjective. For some people, it could be a temporary change, which is a noise. And great example from the trader's lens also. So, thank you so much for this clarity. Um,
sure.
the next question is pretty much linked to what you just said. Too much data available out there. So, with social media and financial influencers everywhere, I want to know what filters or principles you would urge individuals to consider to differentiate between helpful advices and harmful trends.
So, Neha, what I would say is that, when we know someone is of influencer or social media celebrity, whatever, they have their own objectives, which are mostly to get a certain amount of views, likes, engagement, that kind of stuff. And they will, that is why, create things which are mostly trending. They may or may not be of value to you or me, and they really don't care whether we gain from them or not, as long as they hit their KPIs. There are probably exceptions here and there, but the general rule is that once something trending is out there, or even something which is not trending is out there, that information is now freely available to everyone. So the opportunity is usually gone anyway. And again, once we know that they are in it for themselves, we have to take all of them with a pinch of salt, right? Now, what filters or principles can we use? I think first of all, we need to understand ourselves, right? Our risk appetite, our style of investing, our nature, our personality, how much uncertainty can we deal with? And then we need to prioritize our life, our work, our family relationships, health, that kind of stuff, and then see what advice can fit into our lives, what can we reasonably implement. We do not need to adapt our lives to force fit into some piece of advice, right? Because they will just give us some formula, 60/40 here there of saving, investing, 33 33 33, and they will go away. But our challenges are unique to ourselves and only we know. And I would say, obviously, we need to prioritize our lives. And I'll just give you an example. Like now, when the markets went up to 25, 26,000, they peaked at, and then they came down to 22. They've recovered again. There are a lot of people now who are giving data points saying that, see, these are the things we saw and we exited at near the peak, and then we re-entered at lower prices. And I would just tell, everyone watching this that could we, with our jobs, with our families, with, whatever other priorities, hobbies we may have the time or the skill to really find those data points first and then have the conviction to really act on them. In hindsight, it makes complete sense, and you feel, oh, there's some amount of regret also that I should have done this and done that. But even the people, including some billionaire investors who have been able to time some entries and exits into the market during deep cycles, they have often lost more money in the coming cycles. So these pieces of advice and again, really may not be relevant to us, and even if they make sense in hindsight, they are really not that simple as these influencers make it out to be, right? That is why they are getting views, because they really make difficult information look simple, but it's usually not that simple. And trust me, if they were really making money, big amount of money, they would not be there. Again, there are exceptions who are there for the public good, but the general rule is that most of them are there to make a quick buck.
Sure, sure. So, two highlights from this: one is understanding ourselves, our risk
Correct.
appetite, and second is our priorities. So, we can safely
Correct.
say that understanding the difference between the content and your context is very important, no matter how wide.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Neha. You hit the nail, on the head perfectly. So I think, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So, Abhay, my next question is, what timeless personal finance habits do you believe help people, stay grounded no matter how volatile the environment is?
So, Neha, first of all, I would say we should not check our apps and the PNL on a daily, ideally even a regular basis. Unfortunately, most of us check it multiple times in a day. Should not ask our advisors for monthly reports, not even quarterly. Actually, it should be annual and at best once in 6 months, at best, I'm saying. And more than the PNL, we should ask them the reasons why they invested in something, because sometimes some illogical investments can give great results, and sometimes some good investments may not perform in the short term as well, right? So I think we should focus on the reasonings. Secondly, I would say that we need to ask ourselves whether we are investing. Why are we in the markets? Are we there for intellectual stimulation, for thrill seeking, or for actually creating wealth? Because wealth creation is a really boring journey and often lonely, right? And if we are there for the intellectual part of it or the thrill seeking part of it, we may really not be able to achieve the purpose of wealth creation.
Right.
Thirdly, I would say is that we need to have the ability to deal with uncertainty.
Right.
Now, this is easier said than done. I feel I was lucky to develop some amount of it, but there's no end to working on it, right? We are always working on it. I did my chartered accountancy too. So I think that's a phase where you automatically learn how to deal with uncertainty because the exam results are just unknown most of the time. And you still need to live your life and be at peace.
Right.
Um, so this is more, again, as I said, a way of life rather than a habit, right? It requires a lot of mindfulness and probably lifestyle changes, in fact. And the last one, I feel the most important part is that we need to think about life qualitatively and holistically, right? Life should not pass us by while we are trying to optimize for IRR or CAGR, right? We need to think about again our goals in terms of our work, relationships, health, and ideally be so busy that we really do not have the time to check markets on a daily basis. Our just SIPs are going in an automated way, hopefully with the right advisors, and we should be fine because in the Indian markets, we have seen that the markets do have an upward bias, which means that passive investors will be more rewarded, right, in the long run. And someone who's actually really busy and content in their lives, they probably do not even have time to check the news. And when you are not checking the news, you are free from even the process of filtering it. Again, there's a criteria of having the right advisor, but considering that is in place, I think we need to think about lives more qualitatively because let's just take another example. Now, it's been around 8, 9 months since the US elections happened and the whole tariff talk has been going on. If someone, say, went into hibernation at the time and woke up now, how has the life changed on ground? There is so much of news, rumors, fear, that kind of stuff happening, but how have our lives changed, right? So again, if someone is really focused on their lives, thinking qualitatively, holistically, these things will really not affect us and allow us to stay on the journey for the long haul.
Sure, very pertinent points, Abhay. So to summarize, just for audience's benefit, first one you said don't check apps or PNL on a daily basis. You should do it annually rather.
Correct.
Second is to understand why are we in the market? What is the expectation? Third is
Absolutely.
we should understand the ability to deal with the market trends and fluctuations. Our ability to tackle those shifts. Last but not the least, to think and look at life more qualitatively. So I think these are all the mindset shifts that we all need to look at more than
Absolutely.
anything.
Absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely.
so next one, Abhay, is how can emotional discipline and self-awareness impact one's financial choices, and especially during market highs, crashes, or things like peer pressure moments when we are there wanting to make a decision.
Right. So, you know, emotional discipline, like you can talk, till the cows come home and there's no end to this topic, right? But in a world which is fast changing with, everything available at our fingertips with ChatGPT and all kind of AI tools, I think the winners going forward will not have information advantage based on faster or information or more proprietary research,
Right.
right? It will be the ones who can hold their ground mentally and emotionally because that is emerging as the challenge. During the days of Warren Buffett, finding information was the challenge, but in today's day where social media and everything as news, that kind of stuff has created huge mental health hazards, people's dopamine levels are out of control. I think the ability to stay calm, to stay objective, will define how a person can interpret the same research in a different way, give them the clarity of thought, and even cultivate the ability to deal with losses from time to time, which all great investors have had to do, in their journey. And this will, again, as I said, this will require a lot of mindfulness. This will require lifestyle changes and choices in the long run.
Right.
And, if you see Bhagavad Gita, which is the holy book for most of us, it it is geared towards cultivating emotional discipline, being able to do something different from what you instinctively feel like doing. Basically, being able to respond rather than react, get out of the fight or flight kind of mode, right?
Right.
And I think it is more relevant now than any time before, and it will be the defining factor in the next few years, globally, especially for investors, right? But also for our own mental health.
Right. So it is safe to say that emotional control is a very important piece in the long-term success, no matter what decision that you're making. So thank you so much, Abhay. This brings us to the last question for today's masterclass, which is if someone wanted to regain control of their personal finances amidst the noise, what would your top three starting steps be?
Right. So I would again say first we need to start with understanding ourselves, right? What is our risk tolerance? Are we the kind of investors who can take huge losses in order to make big gains? Do we want more stability, our ability to deal with uncertainty, which we just mentioned, right? Second, I would be is that we need to be willing to ask for help. If our finances are not in place, if we are facing some kind of panic or fear, we need to be able to ask for help,
Right.
because we will anyway not be able to see things objectively in that situation.
Right.
And if we have done the whole soul searching, self awareness kind of thing, we will be able to find people who are more geared towards our mindset, who are more suited to help us as per what we need. Right now, whether we take their advice or not is our choice finally.
Right.
But being able to approach people without having the ego, the fear, the trust issues will be really important, right? And I know it is not easy, but being poor is, or having our finances out of control will definitely be more difficult in the long run. And the third thing I would say is we need to make a plan and then be flexible. I'm not saying to make a flexible plan. I'm saying make a plan and then be flexible, because life and markets don't move in a straight line, right?
Right.
And uh, the thing is that if we have a longer horizon, flexibility will be inbuilt. Because even if things don't go as per plan initially, we know that things will revert to the mean. But if our horizon is very short, I think we will have struggle if the plan does if things don't go as per plan in even the first 3 or 6 months, right? Because say if I want to reach from 100 to say 600 in 10 years, it is not going to be okay 200 after 3 years, 400 after 7 years, 600 after 10 years. You may probably be from 100 to 70 after 3 years, you may reach 500 after 6 years, then fall to 300, then reach 600, right? That's how the journey is going to be. You may reach your 10-year goals in 8 years or in 12 years, and you need to build for that margin of error. This is, just an approximation. And again, the ability to deal with uncertainty, self-awareness, working on yourself plays into this as well, right? So yep, that's it.
Absolutely, Abhay. Very simple yet powerful steps, very fundamental. But if you align with those, you truly can make a difference. Be it understanding yourself, willingness to ask for help plays a critical role. So many people they shy away, as you rightly said. So this is going to make a lot of difference. Last but not the least, the need to make a plan and then be flexible. That's an eye-opening one. So thank you so much for that. This brings us to the end of this masterclass, Abhay. I thank you for actually cutting the noise and bringing some depth and clarity to the world of personal finance. I also learned that finance wellness is not just about reacting, it is actually about realigning to what truly matters to you. So, thank you so much for bringing your insight.
Thank you so much, Nia, for having me.
Thanks a lot. I'll just have a quick note to our listeners away. Thank you for tuning into this masterclass. We hope you enjoyed today's conversation. Until we meet next time, take care of your finances. Thank you so much.